Dad left when he realized how serious she was. He couldn't bear to watch what she was doing to us. Mom saw his departure as proof her system worked better without him. If Caller struggled with math, Mom would solve it for her, but hit me if I tried to help, because in her words, dumb children don't understand math. When I grew taller than Mia, she forced me to slouch until my spine curved, because the dumb one can't be tall. She pulled me out of school after 3rd grade, claiming I was too stupid to learn, but in reality, she panicked when I started reading above grade level. Daniel wasn't allowed to cry, even with broken bones, because the strong one can't feel pain. When Mia reached an average teenage weight, Mom put her on extreme diets that left her fainting because the pretty one must stay thin. As we got older, our talents began to defy her labels, and her punishments escalated. She gave Mia medication that caused her hair to fall out when she showed athletic ability. Pretty girls don't sweat. She forced Daniel to lift weights from age 6 until his joints were ruined, ensuring he'd need a cane by 20. When Caller displayed artistic talent, Mom tore up her paintings. But I had it worst. Intelligence is harder to suppress than beauty or strength. Mom made me take drugs that left me dizzy and confused, claiming they were for a severe learning disorder I didn't have. We tried to protect each other. Caller secretly taught me from her textbooks at night. Mia replaced my medication with vitamins whenever she could. Daniel pretended to chase me away from his weights while actually training me. We even created a secret language to communicate without Mom noticing. On my 15th birthday, we made our first escape attempt. Daniel saved money from odd jobs, and we planned to run away. But Mom had trackers on our phones and caught us at the train station. The punishment was brutal. Daniel had to carry 100-pound sacks until his back gave out. Caller solved math problems for 16 hours straight. Mia spent days listing her flaws in front of mirrors. And I had to write, "I am too stupid to think for myself," 10,000 times. After that, Mom moved us to a remote farmhouse and told everyone we had died in a fire. 3 years later, I discovered online classes. While Mom thought I was looking at picture books, I was studying. My siblings created elaborate distractions so I could learn. Caller staged academic crises. Mia had beauty emergencies, and Daniel faked injuries, all to keep Mom busy. With their help, I completed my GED and applied to colleges from the library. When my acceptance letter arrived at our P.O. box, Daniel grabbed it, and we cried together in the barn. We spent months planning my escape. On the night I left, Caller faked a seizure. Mia smashed a mirror and threatened to harm her face, and Daniel drove me to campus. For 1 week, I lived like a normal student. I chose my clothes, spoke in class, and made friends who saw me as just another person. Then, Mom called. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" she asked calmly. "The school requested your medical records. I've already withdrawn you. Daniel is bringing you home." I turned to find Daniel at my door, looking ashamed. Behind him, Mom held a medical bag. "I'm sorry," Daniel whispered. "She threatened to blind Mia and break Caller's hands." Mom smiled as she prepared a syringe. "You've disrupted the ecosystem by trying to be smart. We need to fix that overactive brain permanently," she said. "Dr. Whitaker is waiting at the house. He does special procedures targeting specific parts of the brain." As Daniel grabbed my arms and the needle approached, she added words I still can't forget. "Don't worry, sweetie. You won't even remember wanting to be anything but dumb once we're done." The metal point touched my skin, then loud banging shook the dorm door. Mom quickly stuffed the syringe into her bag just as Tessa Grant, a campus security officer, burst in. She took in the scene, Daniel holding my arms, Mom zipping her bag. Grant stepped between us, freeing me and leading me to the door. My body shook so badly I could barely stand. Mom used her calm, medical voice to claim I was unstable and making up stories. Grant glanced at the red marks on my arms and the medical bag on my desk. I tried to speak, but could barely form words. When Grant asked what was in the bag, I managed to say, syringe. Mom insisted it was medication for my condition, but Grant didn't believe her. She called for backup and blocked the exit. 2 more officers arrived, keeping Mom and Daniel under watch while Grant spoke to me. I told her everything about the threatened procedure. Grant's expression shifted from concerned to alarmed as she called for an ambulance. At the hospital, Dr. Helena Sato examined the injection site, photographed it, and ordered blood tests. The nurse drew tube after tube. Dr. Sato asked about my history, and I explained the drugs Mom had given me. Her face grew more serious as I spoke. She requested hair samples to check for long-term exposure and took swabs from my mouth. They scanned my brain for damage from the years of forced medication. The next morning, Amelia Cross, a university case manager, visited me with a packet of paperwork. She said the school had discovered forged withdrawal documents, claiming I was severely cognitively impaired. She helped me file forms blocking Mom from accessing my records and began paperwork for a no-contact order. Campus security already had Mom's photo. I texted my siblings our old code word. "Are you okay?" Mia replied that Mom was home, screaming that I had ruined everything and calling lawyers to file for guardianship over me, period. Amelia contacted legal aid, and attorney Rachel Monroe arrived within an hour. She told me we needed to document everything to fight Mom's guardianship attempt. We listed every instance of abuse. Rachel said my GED and college acceptance would prove I wasn't mentally impaired. Detective Harper Quinn came to take my official statement, recording everything. I told her about the birth certificates where Mom had written our assigned roles. She promised to obtain copies from the county. For days, I gathered evidence, my GED, college acceptance letter, and years of texts from my siblings about Mom's abuse. Rachel organized everything into folders labeled educational competency, pattern of maltreatment, and medical proof. Meanwhile, the financial aid office froze my funding because Mom had told them I was unfit to manage money. Amelia fixed the issue, showing the police report and explaining the situation. Mom started emailing me long rants about how I was destroying the family ecosystem, claiming my siblings' talents only existed because I accepted my place. Rachel told me to save every email as evidence. 3 days later, Dr. Sato called with test results. Sedatives consistent with long-term exposure were in my system. Drugs that impair thinking in someone who doesn't need them. She ordered hair tests to trace exposure over months or years, information that could support criminal charges. That night, Daniel called sobbing. He admitted Mom was forcing him to choose between helping her or letting her harm Mia and Collar even more. He warned me she had hired someone to track me. In the background, I heard Mom scolding him for being weak. Detective Quinn arranged a meeting to file for a restraining order. With the assault attempt at my dorm, the tracking, and the documented abuse, we had enough for at least a temporary order. At the hearing, Mom appeared polished and calm, telling the judge I was delusional and needed constant supervision. But the judge reviewed the medical evidence, her letters, and photos of my injuries. His expression hardened. He granted a temporary restraining order and warned Mom that any contact would lead to arrest. Within hours, Mom began reaching out through relatives and old friends, claiming I was tearing the family apart. Rachel documented every violation, showing Mom couldn't respect boundaries. Then someone posted my dorm address online, calling me a dangerous child who had abandoned my poor mother. Campus IT documented the doxing and increased security around my building. The university issued a no trespass order against Mom. Officer Grant personally delivered it to the farmhouse, warning her she'd be arrested if she appeared on campus. 2 days later, I found a small package in my mailbox. Inside was a thumb drive labeled Proof in Daniel's handwriting. On it were scanned copies of our birth certificates. My hands shook as I saw what Mom had written in the medical condition boxes. Caller, Smart One, Exceptional Cognitive Function. Mia, Pretty One, Aesthetic Priority. Daniel, Strong One, Physical Dominance Required. Me, Dumb One, Severely Limited Capacity. She had documented her abuse from birth as if it were medical fact. I printed copies and rushed to Rachel's office. Her face went pale as she examined them. "This is premeditated abuse," she said. "In 20 years, I've never seen evidence this clear." She made immediate copies for our case file. That same day, my phone buzzed with a coded text from Mia. When I translated it, my stomach dropped. She had collapsed at the farmhouse, and Mother had to rush her to the emergency room. The doctor there noted she was severely underweight and asked about her eating habits. Mom explained that Mia was just anxious because her difficult sister had left home and was spreading false accusations. Mia said the doctor seemed suspicious but didn't press further, since Mom stayed close by the entire time. I later called Mia and asked if she could get copies of the medical records. She was frightened, but promised to try because Mom's condition was worsening daily. Mom insisted Mia weigh herself 3 times a day and reduced her meals even further. The next morning, Detective Quinn contacted me with surprising news. A neighbor near the farmhouse had recognized the investigation on the news and alerted police. The neighbor reported hearing disturbing screams from our home for years and noticed medical supply trucks delivering far too often for an average family. She had always wondered what was happening, but Mom told her we were homeschooling children with special needs who required constant medical care. Quinn added the neighbor's statement to the growing case against Mom. At that point, Rachel felt it was also time to address Dr. Whitaker. She filed a complaint with the state medical board regarding his role in Mom's threats about lobotomy, emphasizing that even proposing such a treatment on a healthy person violated medical ethics. The board confirmed they would investigate and subpoena his patient records. 3 days later, Rachel called with troubling news. Mom had petitioned for emergency guardianship over me, claiming I was severely disabled and unsafe without continuous care. The court scheduled an evaluation for the following week. Rachel pushed to have an impartial assessor appointed instead of Mom's chosen doctor. She compared Daniel's thumb drive to uncovering a villain's journal, openly detailing her schemes. Mom had treated her children's birth certificates as if labeling store produce. Rachel prepared me for the evaluation, advising me to stay genuine and answer honestly. The evaluation took place in a small courthouse office with a woman in her 50s who seemed kind yet methodical. I spent 3 hours answering questions, taking basic cognitive tests, describing my education, and recounting the abuse. She asked me to solve math problems, interpret texts, and discuss abstract concepts. She appeared startled when I gave her my GED certificate and college acceptance letter. "Your mother claims you function at the level of a young child?" she said carefully. I showed her the birth certificate, where Mom had written that I was the dumb one from birth. The assessor took detailed notes and said she needed time to review all the information before submitting her report. Meanwhile, Amelia worked to secure me mental health support. She connected me with a weekly on-campus group for survivors of family abuse. Though individual therapy had a long waiting list, the group gave me space to talk with people who truly understood. The first session was hard, but hearing others' stories made me feel less isolated. One woman shared that her parents had cast her as the family's failure, much like my own situation. That night, Daniel texted me something that broke me down in tears. He had X-rays taken, and they revealed severe damage from years of lifting heavy weights since the age of 6. His knees, shoulders, and spine showed signs of repetitive stress injuries, with surgery likely in the future. He said seeing the damage in black and white shattered years of Mom's conditioning. For the first time, he felt genuine anger at what she had done in the name of strength. Though he thought about giving a statement to police, he still worried about what might happen to Caller if he completely turned against Mom. 2 days later, Detective Quinn told me she was pursuing a search warrant for Dr. Whitaker's office. She explained that progress was slow since he hadn't yet performed any procedure. Judges often required proof of concrete action rather than threats. I understood, but felt frustrated that the system seemed designed to act only after harm occurred. That afternoon, I came back from meeting Rachel and found a folded note under my door. My hands trembled as I read, "Dumb girls who run away get hurt." I recognized Mom's handwriting instantly. I called campus security, and Officer Grant collected the note as evidence. Security combed through hallway footage, but the person had carefully avoided cameras. They clearly knew the blind spots. Patrols were increased around my dorm, and I was advised to change my route to class. The next morning, my backpack felt unusually heavy. After unpacking it, I discovered a small GPS tracker sewn inside the lining. The stitching was neat and nearly invisible, but the hard plastic was obvious once I checked closely. Quinn collected the device, saying it would be tested for fingerprints. Stalking charges were added to Mom's case. The tracker was expensive and had likely been monitoring me for days. Later that week, I received good news from the registrar's office. I was allowed to re-enroll part-time in 2 courses until the legal matters were resolved. Though not a full load, the routine helped me regain stability. I enrolled in psychology and English composition, proving I could manage college-level work. Amelia privately explained my situation to my professors, who granted flexibility around court dates and police meetings. Even so, balancing school, legal battles, and emotional strain became overwhelming. Some days, I went straight from interrogations to classes and then to Rachel's office. Though the support group helped, I often felt exhausted and unfocused. 3 weeks later, the evaluator's report came back. I was fully competent. The court denied Mom's guardianship petition and showed concern for the evidence presented. A hearing was scheduled for a permanent restraining order, and Quinn's investigation continued. My siblings later told me that Mom reacted furiously to the denial. That night, Caller used our code to warn me that Mom had threatened to destroy her hands if she testified, leaving her unable to write or type again. Caller thought about fleeing, but had no idea how to survive alone, having been denied work experience or basic skills. I immediately informed Rachel and Quinn. They connected us with Marisol Vega, a social worker specializing in discreet escapes for abuse victims. She began working with my siblings to plan safe departures, sharing resources through coded messages. The hardest part was overcoming the psychological grip Mom held, convincing them they couldn't survive without her, even as she harmed them. 2 days later, I received a call that made me cry with both relief and fear. Mia had finally escaped to a women's shelter after Mom discovered her secret phone and erupted in rage. As Mom smashed the phone, Mia grabbed a bag and fled. She called me from the shelter, sobbing but sounding relieved for the first time in years. She said she could no longer endure the forced starvation and was choosing her own life over Mom's approval. The shelter kept her location confidential and began treating her for long-term effects of malnutrition. Within hours, Mom called the police to claim Mia had been abducted by me. She alleged I brainwashed her into leaving. Quinn quickly confirmed with the shelter that Mia was an adult who left voluntarily. The false report added to Mom's pattern of harassment. Quinn noted that each lie only made the case against her stronger. At last, Mia could eat freely without constant surveillance. The shelter staff was shocked at her condition for her height and arranged care with specialists in eating disorder recovery, though it felt strange to eat without guilt. Mia was determined to regain health and strength to speak out. Meanwhile, Rachel began building a civil harassment case, gathering screenshots of Mom's online posts calling me unstable, cataloging fake accounts spreading lies, and locating the doxing post with my dorm address. Mom had even made false missing person flyers, labeling me as having the mind of a 5-year-old, and launched a website titled Help Bring Maya Home, with fabricated details about my supposed disabilities. Rachel said pursuing both criminal and civil cases could give us more options for stopping Mom. During this time, Dr. Sodto called with results from a hair analysis, and her voice carried shock. The test showed I had been exposed to sedatives consistently for at least 4 years, at levels suggesting deliberate drugging. The timeline in my hair samples indicated it began when I was 14 and continued until I left for college, with the highest doses given in the last year. Dr. Sodto said she had only seen such results in poisoning cases and was preparing a detailed report to support criminal charges. That same day, I received a letter from Dr. Whitaker's office. It stated there were no records of procedures or scheduled consultations for me. However, Rachel noticed the cautious wording. It didn't deny private discussions with Mom. The repeated emphasis on ethical standards seemed more like legal shielding than sincerity. Detective Quinn then instructed me to call the office while she recorded. Dr. Whitaker didn't admit anything specific, but acknowledged that his practice sometimes handled sensitive cases requiring discretion and private procedures. Quinn said that was enough to pursue further investigation into his license and patient files. 2 days later, Daniel called me in tears. During one of Mom's extreme training sessions, he'd had torn something in his knee while carrying 200 pounds up and down stairs for hours. Doctors said he needed surgery and would be on crutches for months, ending his ability to do her brutal exercises. Despite the pain, he admitted the injury felt like a strange relief, It gave him a reason to step back from being Mom's enforcer. I could hear both the physical and emotional toll in his voice, years of strain finally breaking through. He worked with a volunteer to plan his escape, arranging for transportation to a men's shelter whenever he was ready. The idea was that a volunteer would pick him up during one of his physical therapy sessions, so Mom wouldn't notice his absence until much later. But Daniel kept delaying, terrified of what Mom might do to Kaylor if he and Mia left. He said he couldn't leave our sister alone to face Mom's anger, even though staying was destroying his body. For years, he had acted as the enforcer, and the guilt of abandoning Kaylor weighed heavily on him. Marisol had to keep reminding him that if Mom damaged his ability to walk, he wouldn't be able to protect anyone. About a week later, on my way to class, I noticed someone in a large coat, wig, sunglasses, and odd clothes following me across campus. Despite the disguise, I instantly recognized Mom's walk after years of watching her moods shift. I texted Officer Grant immediately and walked toward the campus security office. As Mom drew closer, reaching into her purse for something I couldn't see, Grant stopped her just outside the library. When she tried to explain she was only a worried parent checking on her child, Grant reminded her of the trespass order and called for backup. Seeing her in handcuffs after years of controlling every part of our lives felt unreal. She shouted about parental rights, but Mom was charged with criminal trespass and violating a restraining order. The prosecutor said the arrest would strengthen our case because it showed Mom's disregard for legal boundaries. At the permanent restraining order hearing 3 weeks later, a neighbor testified that she often heard shouting at all hours from the farmhouse and noticed medical supply trucks making suspicious deliveries. She recalled finding me in her yard at 15, disoriented from Mom's drugs, and how Mom dragged me home, claiming I was gravely impaired and prone to wandering. Combined with our other evidence, drugging records, birth certificates listing assigned duties, and Mom's repeated violations, the judge became visibly concerned. In the end, the court issued a 3-year restraining order with strict terms. Mom could not contact us directly or through others, could not come within 500 feet, and was banned from writing about us online. Her lawyer argued it was too harsh for a mother trying to help her children. Thanks a lot. But the judge ruled the pattern of abuse and recent actions showed an ongoing danger requiring maximum protection. Within days, Mom retaliated by filing a defamation suit, accusing me of lying, damaging her reputation, and demanding I retract my delusions about being drugged and controlled. Rachel wasn't fazed. She quickly prepared an anti-slap motion to dismiss, explaining that abusers often use lawsuits to silence victims. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was full when the judge ruled. Mom's face turned red as he declared the case an attempt to stop me from testifying about abuse. He ordered her to pay my legal fees within 30 days and warned that any future lawsuits would be treated as harassment. That same afternoon, Detective Quinn told me she had secured a search warrant. The evidence we provided, the neighbor's testimony, and reports from other families about Dr. Whitaker had convinced the court. She explained the team would search the farmhouse for unprescribed drugs, medical equipment, and records of Mom's system. I mentioned her bedroom filing cabinet, filled with charts tracking our performance, and the locked box under her bed containing the pills she forced on me. The search uncovered far more than expected. detailed notebooks documenting our lives since birth, unlabeled bottles of sedatives, and 17 tracking devices ready to be used on us. Investigators also found emails between Mom and Dr. Whitaker describing cognitive correction techniques for disobedient children and receipts for equipment with no legitimate family use. Seeing photos of the evidence room, syringes, vials, and rows of supplies made me sick. Mom was arrested within hours at her motel for assault, stalking, and child endangerment. Authorities also confirmed Dr. Whitaker was under investigation for performing questionable treatments on other families. Daniel was later questioned about helping Mom drag me back from college. I feared he'd face charges, but detectives determined he was a victim too, coerced and manipulated. That acknowledgement helped him finally see Mom's actions as abuse. Mia gave sworn testimony about the diet pills and forced starvation, showing photos from her weakest moments and medical reports from her fainting spells. Kaylor submitted written testimony with photos of her destroyed paintings, detailing punishments for showing artistic talent. 2 former neighbors added statements about seeing smoke from burned artwork. Their bravery made the case stronger. Prosecutors said, with all 4 siblings confirming the abuse, Mom could no longer claim it was just one child making accusations. Mom posted bail 3 days later and began showing up near the courthouse, always standing exactly 1 foot beyond the restraining order limit, clearly trying to intimidate me. Each incident was documented by security. Even after years of surviving her, I jumped at footsteps behind me, struggled to sleep, and woke at 3 a.m. convinced I smelled pills or heard her voice. Amelia helped me join a university waitlist for trauma therapy and connected me to an online support group, which reassured me that others had faced similar fear of their own parents. Prosecutor Julianne Price met with Rachel and me to discuss a plea deal. Mom would plead guilty to assault and stalking in exchange for probation, mandatory mental health treatment, and a long-term no-contact order. He explained that trials can be traumatic for victims, and the deal guaranteed strong protections. Conditions included 3 years of probation, any violation leading to jail time, mandatory therapy twice weekly at her expense, and a 10-year restraining order covering all 4 siblings. That night, my siblings and I debated the offer. Daniel wanted closure, Mia feared Mom would find loopholes, and Kaylor hoped treatment might help Mom face reality. We agreed our safety outweighed the need for a harsher sentence, and a guaranteed outcome was better than the risk of trial. 2 days later, we sent letters of support for the deal. Mom pled guilty in court, acknowledging she had to stay away from us for 10 years. Detective Quinn later told me that after our case went public, 3 more families reported Dr. Whitaker to the medical board. His license was suspended immediately, likely ending his career. Mom had lost her main ally. Mia soon texted that she had rented a small apartment with money from our grandmother that Mom never knew about. She was eating properly again and had joined the wait list for eating disorder therapy. Daniel began physical therapy for joint damage from years of forced training. His therapist was stunned by his condition. He also joined a men's abuse support group and apologized for helping Mom that day at my dorm. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I respected his efforts to heal. Kaylor found a job at an art supply shop and quietly started painting again during breaks, though she wasn't ready to share her work publicly. After weeks of processing, the university finalized my dependency override, reinstated my financial aid, and permanently blocked Mom from accessing my records. For the first time, I could focus on school without fear of interference. My siblings and I began texting in a mix of our childhood secret code and regular messages, keeping us connected while acknowledging our different struggles. Eventually, I got into trauma therapy. My counselor confirmed Mom's actions were severe abuse, not strict parenting. That night, I finally slept through without nightmares. Later, the prosecutor informed me that Mom had already tested the limits of probation by contacting us through a cousin. The officer documented the violation and warned her that any further attempts meant immediate jail. Weeks later, I met Mia and Kaylor for coffee, the first time you were together without Mom dictating everything. We were still healing, but for hours we lived as ordinary sisters. Mia ate a full meal without fear, Kaylor doodled freely, and I talked about school without pretending to be less capable. Soon after, I noticed I wasn't constantly checking over my shoulder on campus. I sat in the front row, answered a question confidently, and was praised by my professor, a moment that once would have earned punishment at home. Now, it simply meant I was learning. Studying at the library among other students, I realized I belonged there too. For the first time, I wasn't the stupid one in Mom's twisted system. I was just Maya, with a future she had always claimed I'd never have. And while healing would take time, we were finally free to be ourselves, not who she demanded we become.